The first is a short off 1350s because the auction stopped. It's also an HVN 1325. Somebody's throwing on the bid. The auction slows down, and then they pull by the looks of it. And then there's a plunge lower, and the auction shifts lower, so I was right. I should scratch there at 13 because they were about to ladder back up. And then the auction shifts bullish, 1350s, and then they pull again. So buyers want higher, so active participants want higher prices, and then the market maker isn't willing to offer higher than 1375. There's buying now again, 1375. We ladder lower, then they form an auction at 13s. I'm just gonna. Okay, I'm long 1375. There's an uptick. They pull the ladder again. And then they scratch. Good. Then it looks like I chase. I catch a short here. We come back up. We uptick, form an auction. The seller kicks in. Tape stops. There's a seller there, giving it some leg room because of the strong downtrend on the low of day. Liquidity dries up there. I would get out. And they spam. The seller pukes. 0425s. I get short again. They take it lower. There's initiative buying this side off of the low. And they form an auction 0525s, which makes me believe we're going lower. Liquidity dries up, and the buyers pull, meaning they want lower prices and they don't want to trade there anymore. There's a buyer there. There's another buyer. After they pull, they show up. They push it to fours. Fours, 375. So buyers are in control now. They form an auction at 425s. We come down. There's no liquidity. Down to 0375s. So I'd be bullish this, which is good on long. The auction goes higher, right? Now the question is, are they going to pull the bid and ask again and send it lower without participation or what? I should have held that trade, I think. Well, it reversed on me anyways, so. And I flipped short at low of day. Probably, yeah, because of tape at 03s. Yeah, that's a good reason to short. And then a buyer steps in there, 15, 22, 25. I get out because if he shows up again, it's going to be wraps. I think I cling to this trade because of 275 having 63 on the tape. Okay, I scratched it fast. Good. Because liquidity is drying up there. We're ticking lower, but nobody wants to trade, which means buyers are pulling again. $35s, $40s. And they spam the tape, 15s and 13s. I'm expecting lower now at 0250. And then a buyer steps in 0275 and I scratch for a couple ticks. We're going to be here all night if I don't get through this. 70s even. Got it on the buyer. They pulled, meaning they want higher prices. We're in the LVN now, so I'm looking for 250. Yeah, they're gonna shoot down again on participation. I think they form a new auction 250. Okay, first off, they get lower again. So it slows up and then the seller steps in at 25s. Next trade is here. Yin is short. Auction shifts lower. They pull on the bids. The buyers don't want to trade up there. They come lower. We're looking for liquidity now. 0375s. They pull again. Buyers want lower prices. Probably down to 150s. I might try to catch a short here. We get down to 25s. And we flicker back and forth. See a little bid from the buyers. The auction shifts higher between 01s and 0150s. This looks like a breakout. They didn't fill me. I'm trying to catch it again. Yeah, I go long there, I presume. Scratch for a couple ticks. 0350. Should have held the trade. Yeah, I want to see if they pull. Okay. 4 to 475, they pull. 5 to 25s. There's a liquidity there on buy side. 525 and 5 evens. And they send it lower. Just on a walk down, a pull. So we're playing the LVN now, 0150s and 0350s. A short there. Okay, we're back. Let's cut through this. Long at the HVN high, there's no liquidity there. Well, there is there at 150, so I agree with that trade. And I try to get in. There's no liquidity there. Now there's liquidity at 01s. And they walk it down, they pull again. Ones, there's an auction below, but they're going to pull in the opposite direction because this is what I'm guessing. They're going to pull in the opposite direction because we're at 9850s, which is the low of the node, right? And I think they want to facilitate trade up there to zeros, zero evens. They don't want low of day to get hit, I guess, for whatever reason, even though buyers and sellers want it lower, makers and market makers don't. They don't want to see a new low of day. I think they pull again and I get caught offside. So there's an 18 and a 15 down at the lows, which makes me think, okay, we're going lower. Even now, looking at the tape, and then we form an auction back lower 9850s, right? And then we're upticking, meaning the ask is pulling, even though there's little liquidity. And then we see a buyer actually, so they didn't pull. A buyer showed up down at 9875s. I was wrong. We form a new auction. We buy here on upticking. It moves without me. There's a 98 at 01 that's spoof, and they plunge it. I get long because of the auction at 0175 and the upticking, and then they walk it up, and we're in an HVN now. Okay, they blast it lower on sellers. I'm not even gonna. I don't have time. It's 9 o'clock, so I can't look and see whether it was seller or limit driven. But it looks good. 99.50s would be a good place to scratch. The tape stopped and liquidity dried up there. We're probably going to run in the opposite direction. Plus ones. No auction. Good scratch. Negative ones. Auction. Do they run it up again? Is the question here. We see twos. Liquidity dries up at 97s. There's no liquidity there again. And we're just ticking back and forth. So it looks like it looks like the maker wanted it temporarily for 5 seconds or however long, and the buyers and the real participants didn't. Okay, now there are sellers and there's an auction, so I think we're going lower. This is an aggressive short, but just that I'll stand behind it. The auction shifts a bit higher. I'd get out now because there's so much to lose. Shorting at low of day, a tick away from the low. Okay, it was a good scratch. Liquidity dries up again, and they push it lower. And we go lower, 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 and now we're 3 ticks away from 95s. I think we're going to hit that big order at 56. We auction higher. Now I think we're hitting 96.50. We're going to clear that. Maybe shoot 2 ticks above it to 97s and then send it back down. We're at 97s. Buyer kicks up at 97s. They pull. Liquidity dries up at 97s. The bids pull again because it's pre-market. That's why it was not as easy, is because I don't have to deal with just reading buyers and sellers. I have to deal with reading the auction hunting for liquidity, because the makers are pulling the stack. They're pulling and stacking their orders. So if the tape stops and there are no participants, and then all of a sudden it jumps 4 or 5 ticks in the opposite direction, that's a market maker pulling or stacking an entire block of orders for 4 ticks. And so there's no way for me. There are ways for me to anticipate that. I just don't have enough experience. That's why I think I blew out today, or in this review, anyways. So there's an auction below 96. I think we're going to plunge to 95. Okay, okay. Yep. A little demand, and then an explosion on tape. It's time to get out. Okay, got out for 2 ticks. And then trying to sell again because there's no liquidity. They spam the tape at 96. It's time to get out again. Good. Now that's 3 losses in a row just trying to catch something that doesn't exist, which is the tape down at 95. So that's more of a cognitive bias issue. And then liquidity dries up now. So I would short there and catch 38s at 96.75. If they offered 97.25 again, I'd short there. There's a bit of an auction at 96.50, and I read into that not thinking about the big order, I guess, and that's why I threw it there. And they move against me on either the stacking of bids or the pulling of asks, what I presume to be the pulling of asks. 17.23 at a 97.25. It's a good reason to get out. It's a good reason to get out in the short term, but knowing that they're pulling and you came off of low of day and you're right above a node, that just indicates the auction is shifting. And then we get down to 97s and the tape dries up again, which is even more bullish. 98.25s, 13s, and okay, now I'm bullish. Now I'm still bullish because of the battle there. So I go long there. And then the auction, somebody either spoofs or it's a real order that's shifting a tick lower and absorbing 97.50. I want to see Hey, we're back. +1, they pull. Wait. They pull. Good long. Um, yeah, they walk it down after they pull because nobody wants to trade up there. +1. Now people want to trade up there, but it's sellers, so it's against me. They catch a bidder, 0475s. Good long to hold generally. Auction shifts lower on sellers. Now it's time to get out when they print the 20 at 0375 on the buy side. -1. Good short. It explodes against me by the looks of it. Auction shifting lower. They plunge, right? Yeah. And I got out right before the plunge. I should have flipped it because of that order of 62 at 04s. Good long, shifting higher in the LBM, came off the low of day. Buyers in control, right? So it's easy, just long and catch. Uh, I don't know if I play this run up retarded, and that's the issue. It's a short. It's a good short. They're stacking on sell side. Good short. 38 to 19s, great. You know, and we're back into the HVN. Oh no, they pulled, I think. Okay, big seller, 67.50s. Buyer time to get out. Liquidity dries up, so I hold it. Auction shows up again. They push it. Market wants it. Makers, my bad. Makers want it higher. Market doesn't want to go higher. But if makers wanted them, whatever, I just have to weigh that in my decision making. Sell lower. That's filled at 90s, 96. They pull the ask again. I get out on aggressive selling by the looks of it, or just a jump in the tape. There's nothing below there. Good long. Back into the LVN. We come back and form a balance area. -1. 24s, 56. Good short. Shifting lower. Makers push it higher by the looks of it. They walk it down. There's no liquidity there. It's time to get out because there's no participants. Well, there are now 11 and 16 at 86. It's back ticking, so makers on the buy side now wanting to push it higher. Some active selling down at 85.23. Let's fast forward here. This is just me watching tape. +1. Good push. I'm bullish just because of the maker backticking. It's just intuition at this point. We shoot up and the LBM and the periphery up to 92.50s, throwing 23s at 93s. Liquidity dries up. We build an auction out there. 92.50s. We break down to 91.50. I'm chasing now. They're not filling my limits, and I know that I'm missing out on good conditions because we crossed the LVN up at 95.50 where it ended, and I take a short. Makers are upticking. We see a big explosion in price. They stack at 96. There's no plunge, and I'm waiting for a plunge. I get in late because of upticking, and the seller steps in there for 3 ticks. It's time to get out. And the auction shifts lower. This has gotten hairy. Good scratch. They pull, and we make it down to 95s. And they pull again. Are there orders here that I place and lose in like 5 seconds flat or what? 758. No, I'm laying down. a short here, spamming tape. I don't know. I don't know anything about this trade. I know that the stop was a bit too wide, 4 ticks. And they pull lower. Okay. Makers pull lower, then they bid it up again. So they're just playing back and forth, looking for liquidity on the curve end. I think the larger narrative was is we make it up to 67 evens. Let me just fast forward. We're building out an auction here, and we explode above it, presumably. We're still there. We explode lower, and then we get down to 91s, the LVN. We form out an auction in the 91s. Okay, so I was wrong, and the market's breaking lower to 91.25s. I think I catch the ride down to 88.25s. My internet goes out. That looked painful. So balance is obviously shifting lower just from the higher time frame perspective. We're below 96.50 and 95.25. We're in the LVN building out a balance. There's a big salary through 134s, 816. That's a short that I close immediately because I don't like the price action. Frankly, right here, reviewing it, I don't know if because I've been reviewing it too long or because the conditions are hard for me to read. I'm just confused. So I can always not trade this if it shows up again.